Well, the sun is beginning to shine here at Newark. Wonderful location for buying. And talking of buying, we're going to talk to Heather, who is an upholsterer. And you're on a bit of a buying trip, Heather.
I am. So I've been looking at this Victorian footstool.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of getting it for basically reupholstery to sell on the website.
Oh, right, okay. This is what you do. So you source antique pieces.
I do. And I'm a traditional upholsterer by trade. So everything I do is traditional. So it's done with horsehair, tacks, there's no staples, there's no foam whatsoever. So basically I buy antique pieces, reupholster them traditionally, and they'll sell them on the website.
Brilliant. Now that is quite rare for a few reasons. One, you're a young female upholsterer, which is unusual.
It is,
isn't it?
It is.
And also not using foam and staples, all these modern inventions. Why not?
I took a traditional upholstery course years ago. I was in IT originally, and once I'd done the upholstery course, I just couldn't bear to put foam and staples on antique furniture.
No.
People do, but it can devalue them enormously.
Yes.
And I just fell in love with traditional upholstery. To give you an idea, drop-in seat.
Let's have a look. Do you want to pick it up and talk it? Yeah, go on.
Of course. So, a Victorian antique footstool. So, when you're an upholsterer, the first thing you look for is how it's done, what kind of quality it was done originally. So black and white webbing shows it's a sign of quality. To use black and white webbing, you should always use that.
Now what's the difference between black and white webbing and any other kind of webbing?
So black and white webbing is strong, it's weight bearing. You will see, if you go into any antique shop, any antiques fair, turn a chair or stool upside down, and a lot of the time it's brown webbing, and it's invariably broken, and it's broken because it's not weight bearing, so it's the wrong webbing. So black and white herringbone webbing is a sign of quality. There's also the hair that you can see. You can see the hessian's perished, which is normal.
And that's a good sign, isn't it? Helps you date it, doesn't it as well?
It does, yeah. Yeah, and then you've got the hair as well, obviously. And if we come to the front...
Let me just have a feel of that hair, because that is proper horse hair, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And do you know when people are looking at old sofas or stools like this, isn't it a good tip for them to push the seat down and listen
you
and
listen for the crunch.
The crunch. The wonderful crunch of horse hair.
Yeah, you do.
It's great, isn't it?
And it's a good sign. Sometimes it's straw. If the period piece is earlier, it can be straw. But usually it's hair and it will crunch. If it's foam, obviously it won't. It will just give, and you'll be able to tell. It's very obvious.
It is, and it bounces back with the foam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're examining the stool. You're happy with its age?
Yes, I am. And also it's been done by tacks. You can see the original tacks on there.
Yeah.
And you can see the original by, if I just pull that back a little bit, by the number of tack holes. So this is probably the original upholstery. I don't think this has been redone, looking at the number of tack holes. The holes here would have been for the top fabric, so the covering fabric, which would go over the calico.
Right. Okay, so a top tip then is when you peel the fabric away, if you see stacks and stacks of holes, it's evidence of the thing being reupholstered several times.
It is, yeah. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because it could have been reupholstered by a traditional upholsterer, so it could have tack holes in.
Yeah.
But also, people do upholster them with staples, so if it has staples in, then that's a sign that it's been in the hands of somebody who doesn't probably know about traditional upholstery.
Now, when we talk about traditional upholstery, I mean, it is, by its very nature, much harder to upholster using tacks.
Much harder.
And it takes, I mean, how much more time?
So to give you an idea, a drop-in seat dining chair, if you were doing it with foam and staples, would take you probably about an hour 15 minutes. If you're doing it traditionally, as a beginner, it would take you 2 full days.
Wow.
So on the courses I run in Sheffield, the beginner's course, when they bring a piece of furniture, I always advise a drop-in seat, and that will take 2 days. And people usually come with more than one chair because they don't believe that a drop-in seat chair will take 2 days.
I see. So you actually train people how to upholster traditionally as well?
That's correct. Yeah.
Wow, how very fascinating. Do you love doing it?
I love doing it, yeah. It's a real passion. And you find the courses that I run is that people get addicted.
Right.
And have one lady who came on the course, and she owns a big Victorian house in Barnsley with a big cellar, and she was getting to the stage where she was putting chairs down the cellar and not telling her husband. It gets to be a bit of an addiction, and that's how I started. I just ended up with loads of chairs and thought I better start selling some of these chairs.
Right.
Yeah,
so
it really is addictive.
So the business kind of for you was set up almost by accident. It was a passion.
Yeah, what happened was I was in IT, hated IT, did an upholstery course, traditional upholstery course, just 1 week, and then fell in love with it.
Right.
And we just moved to a little Victorian cottage, and I wanted to buy antique furniture covered in nice fabrics.
Right.
And at that time, nobody was doing it.
No.
So I decided that I was going to do some for myself.
My
And
goodness
that's
me.
how it started, and then it turned into a business by accident.
You know, I've always believed that the best businesses become businesses by accident.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they're better if they're led by passion
Sure.
and interest.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the stool. And
Okay.
so how much are you going to pay for this? Let's lift it up so the viewers can see it.
Okay.
What sort of money is it?
So it has got a few issues.
Yeah.
Has got a few woodworm holes.
Okay, so you'll treat that.
So yeah, I would treat that. You have to be careful if you have got woodworm holes, because sometimes it can absolutely decimate the furniture. This doesn't actually look too bad. There are a few on the legs,
Yeah.
so that would need treating. So the first thing I would do is strip all the upholstery off, because really you can't do anything with that. This stitched edge pad,
And that's
so
lovely,
it's a stitched
isn't it?
edge pad. Sometimes you can reuse these. You can't actually see the stitching on there.
I can see
Yeah,
it and
you
I
can
can
just
feel
see
it.
it. Yeah, you
so
can just
when
see
you
it.
say a stitched edge, what do you call it?
Stitched edge roll.
Stitch. Right. So it is literally like a little roll, isn't
It's
it?
stitched.
Yeah.
So what happens is you build the hair up, and then you stitch into it with a needle, and that basically provides a solid wall for the hair. Because
Yeah.
if you can imagine, if you just put hair on the stool and then sat on it, over time to go like a muffin top, all the hair would spill over the sides.
yeah.
So you have to stitch it into a wall, so it's a solid wall that comes up from the frame,
Yeah.
so that it doesn't move. So that's the stitched edge roll. Now sometimes you can reuse those. I can't really tell whether I could reuse that one or not. I perhaps could use that bottom part and then just put Hessian over it
Right.
to make it strong again. But I would have to probably take it all to pieces to know if I could reuse that.
I mean,
to be fair.
it's really involved. When
It
you know,
is.
someone who doesn't know about these things will look at that. They'll just think it's a pad tacked on. But I mean, the
Yeah.
inner workings. It's almost like biology.
It is, it is. I mean, to do this, to strip this completely and redo it from scratch, not reusing anything, it will probably take me 3 full days.
Right. Yeah. No. I believe it. Well,
Yeah.
in fact, I more than believe it. I know it because I used to employ 14 upholsterers, so I know
Right.
that I know how involved it is. So let's pick it up again. Let's have a look at the shape of the legs. So, I mean, you know that it's Victorian. Let's
Yep.
go through that for the viewers,
Yep,
just to
sure.
explain how we know that. So it's mahogany. You've got a cabriole leg, so that's a very typical Victorian shape. You've got that C scroll here, and because of all the things that you've spotted, you know that it's old. You know that
Yeah,
it's
sure.
ancient.
Yeah.
So that it's not a reproduction Victorian; it's a genuine Victorian thing. And so date-wise, probably what 1860 to 1880, something like that.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Now, a fine thing. Your purchase price is going to be roughly
I'd say about 120.
120. You're going to put a lot of time and effort in it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what kind of fabric will you put on it?
Oh, something fabulous. I
Are
tend
you
to-
going wild and wacky?
Yeah, although I do traditional upholstery, I tend to use more modern fabrics. Actually, I have got some samples in.
Have you? I bet you carry fabric samples wherever you go.
Would you like me to show you?
No.
So something I tend to go, if you have a look at the website, the stuff that I do is kind of, although I do traditional upholstery, it's sort of more modern fabrics, but
Right.
I don't go completely wacky.
No, but that's good because you've got the traditional quality,
Yeah.
the traditional workmanship, and then you're jazzing it up with a little bit of a modern twist. I think that just works. That's bringing them into
Yeah.
the 21st century.
It is.
What sort of price will it be, fully restored, on your website?
I would say about 345
Well, it doesn't
to
sound dear.
395.
Doesn't sound dear at all.
Yeah, depends. Sometimes you can hit problems. Sometimes you don't know what you find, and you can do all the tests. You can test the joints. You can look for woodworm. You can see the webbing. You can see how it's constructed. But sometimes you can be caught out and you don't actually know, and
yeah.
so you strip it back. So it could be that it needs a bit of additional work. I don't think so. Looking at it.
Okay, that's good. Now, as for your business, then, do you mainly buy and restore and then sell yourself, or are you taking in much work for other people as well?
So it's a combination. So I started off by just buying antiques,
Yeah.
reupholstering them, selling them on the website. That then sort of opened out into me doing commissions for people. So people bring me their antique furniture, I do them up for them, give them back, and then I also started the teaching.
Right.
So it's kind of like three-sided really, which
Okay.
is nice because it gives me a variety.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. It keeps life nice and spicy, doesn't
does,
it?
it does,
Okay.
yes.
Well, Heather, it's been a great delight to bump into you, and good luck with the stool.
Thank you very much.
Great to see you.
Thank you, and you.
30, 40 grand.